So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is that you get to cover your current affairs very quickly so that you're left with the entire day to cover other parts of your UPSC syllabus. Now, just watching this lecture would be job half done because just after watching it, you need to revise it. Because revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll forget them very quickly. Now, you can revise these current affairs from our notes, and these notes are available on our Telegram platform. All you have to do is just click on the link given below this video in the comment section, and it will take you to our Telegram channel from where you can download the notes for this lecture. Alright, let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the topics we are going to cover in today's lecture. Okay, so these are the 4 topics that we are going to cover today. Number 1 is Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. Now, this survey's data has been released by Ministry of Statistics, and some very positive news is found in this data. So we'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about Beggar thy neighbor policy. It's an economic policy that is followed by some countries, and it leads to basically more isolation and trade protectionism. Currently, Donald Trump is following this policy. Now, what are the pitfalls of this policy? What are the disadvantages of this policy? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about depiction of national emblem. The central government has found out that many state governments in India are using national emblem of India without the slogan called Satyameva Jayate in Devanagari script. So central government has said to all the state governments to use that national emblem in its truest sense. Okay, so what is India's national emblem? What is its usage? How it should be used in official documents? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about Jevons Paradox and how it relates to AI. Okay, Jevons Paradox is an economic theory, and with the arrival of DeepSeek, Chinese startup DeepSeek, this Jevons Paradox has been in the news, and they say it will disrupt the AI sector. So, what is Jevons Paradox? We'll talk about this. All right. So let's begin today's discussion, starting with topic number 1, which is Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation published the summary findings of second of the 2 consecutive surveys on household consumption expenditure planned to be conducted during 2022-23 and 23-24 on 27 December. Okay, look, Household Consumption Expenditure Survey is a national survey conducted by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, in which you get the data about the consumption pattern of average households in India. How are average households in India consuming things, whether they are consuming more food items or less food items, whether they are consuming luxury items, has their overall consumption expenditure per month increased or decreased? So this survey gives us the data about consumption patterns of average Indian households. Okay, now 2 surveys were conducted for the year 2022-23 and 23-24. Now 22-23 data was released last year, 22-23. 23-24's data has been released just now by Ministry of Statistics. And what were the findings of this data? We'll talk about this. But first, let's talk about HCES. So it is designed to collect information on consumption and expenditure of households on goods and services. Okay. Now, who conducts this survey? It is conducted by National Statistical Office, which works under Ministry of Statistics. The purpose is very simple: to provide essential data for economic planning, because if government knows what are the consumption patterns of people, then they would be able to better plan their welfare schemes, social sector schemes. Okay. Poverty measurement, and to measure consumer price index. You know, consumer price index is based on the prices of items consumed by average Indian households. Now, how would you know what the average Indian household consumes? Through this survey. So it is very essential. You have to remember this. HCES is used in computation of CPI. All right. Now, what were some of the positive findings of this survey? Okay. First of all, on average, people's monthly per capita expenditure has increased. That means people are spending more, consuming more, which is good news. Plus, earlier it was found, or still true, urban households spend more than rural households. But this gap is narrowing. Rural household expenditure is increasing and it is catching up with urban household expenditure. So, this is good news. Then, consumption inequality. Okay, that is declining. To measure inequality, there is an economic variable called Gini coefficient. What is Gini coefficient? For now, just assume or just know this, that Gini coefficient is a value between 0 to 1. And if it is closer to 1, then inequality is high. If it is closer to 0, then inequality is low, which is equality is high. So, consumption inequality as measured by Gini coefficient declined. It came closer to 0, which is again good news. But there were some bad news as well. Okay, there were some concerns. First concern is that there is disparity among some states. Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh show large urban rural divides. They are basically laggards. These two states are not performing well. Then the growth in consumption expenditure was slow in Maharashtra and Karnataka too. Plus, there is high share of expenditure on non-essential items. Okay, processed food, beverages, which is bad news. And vulnerable social groups like STs, SCs are still doing poorly as compared to OBCs and general category people. Okay, so these are some of the concerns, but overall it is good news. All right, okay. Let's move forward to news item number 2, which is Beggar Thy Neighbor policy. Okay, now what is Beggar Thy Neighbor policy? Basically, I'll explain this to you with just one short example. Let's suppose there is this country, USA, and there is India. Okay. Now, both of them do import export, trade between each other. But USA finds out that India sells more goods to USA than it buys goods from USA. Okay. India exports more than it imports from USA. This has led to a trade deficit in USA. USA imports more from India and exports less to India. Okay. Now, some countries, USA, become paranoid because of this trade deficit and they want to convert this trade deficit to trade surplus, which means they want to export more than they want to import. So, what do? They apply restrictions to imports from India. They will levy high taxes on imports from India. So people in USA won't buy Indian goods because by the time they reach American markets, because of high taxation in USA, they become very expensive. Okay. Then they put quota restrictions. In 1 year, you cannot buy more than this much amount, X amount of Indian goods. So this is a quota restriction because USA has given a quota to India. Beyond this limit, USA cannot import more from India. So these are quota restrictions. Okay. And currency wars also. USA accuses India of deliberately devaluing its currency so that it can export more. Okay. Now, what does USA do? USA will apply all those policies which restrict goods from India. Now, this would reduce exports from India and this would reduce economic prosperity or economic growth in India. Okay, so in a way, USA is trying to beggar India. Okay, beggar thy neighbor means to make your neighbor poor. Clear? This is beggar thy neighbor policy. And currently, USA, especially Donald Trump, is applying this policy mostly on China. Because USA runs a huge trade deficit with China and USA wants to change that. Now, the name of this policy, Beggar Thy Neighbor, was first given by the father of economics called Adam Smith in 1776. Now, what happens is that if USA applies these restrictions on China, China will retaliate with restrictions on USA. And if every country tries this policy of beggar thy neighbor, then no country would trade with each other. Global trade would fall. And that is a big negative consequence of beggar thy neighbor policy. Okay, USA currently is threatening to use this policy with many countries. China, Canada, and many others. All right. Now, more on this policy. So, economic policies aimed at generating trade surplus. You want to remove trade deficit through protectionist measures. What do you mean by protectionist measures? All those measures that restrict trade with your fellow countries. Okay. Now, what are the tools of this policy? You put high import duty or tariffs on Chinese goods. You put high quota restrictions. You involve yourselves in currency wars, devaluing your currency and whatnot. Purpose is simple: to generate trade surplus, to protect domestic industry. Because many steel manufacturers in USA were bearing losses because of cheap Chinese steel goods coming to America. So what is USA trying to do? USA is trying to reduce Chinese steel imports so that American steel is bought more by the people, to protect domestic industry. And if domestic industry is protected, domestic jobs are protected. Plus, USA does not want to sell or trade critical technologies with China because that would give China an edge. So, national security is also a concern. Now, what are the problems with this policy? First of all, it leads to trade wars because if USA will apply these restrictions with China, China would retaliate. Trade wars harm global trade, reduce competition because now American industries don't face any competition from Chinese industries, so they would kind of have a monopoly in America, and that would be bad for American consumers. Plus, this leads to overall global instability because every country is economically fighting with each other. So, the entire world should back off, should not follow beggar thy neighbor policy, because if they will, then global trade, free trade would get hampered. All right, let's move forward to topic number 3: depiction of national emblem. So, this is our national emblem. You must have seen this on almost all official government documents, government buildings, right? So, this is our national emblem. It is taken from a Ashokan pillar. This pillar was erected during the time of Ashoka, Mauryan ruler, the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Okay, he erected pillars. So on the top of this pillar, this Ashokan pillar was this thing. It had 4 lions, 3 in the front, 1 in the back. Then there was this wheel with 24 spokes, which is also found on Indian flag. Then there are 4 animals, and at the bottom of it is written Satyamev Jayate. Now, Satyamev Jayate is not written on Ashokan pillars, it's written on India's national emblem. So, India's national emblem is inspired from this Ashokan pillar of Sarnath, found in Sarnath. Okay. Now, Union Home Ministry has asked state governments to prevent the misuse and improper depiction of state emblem of India, emphasizing that the lion capital logo is incomplete without Satyamev Jayate. And this Satyamev Jayate should be written in Devanagari script. Devanagari script is that script in which Hindi language is written. And many other North Indian languages are written, okay, including Marathi also, which is not North Indian, but okay, because many states were omitting this Satyamev Jayate, and Union Home Ministry has reprimanded state governments to not misuse national emblem because after all it is national emblem. Okay, now this image was chosen as national emblem on January 26, 1950, Republic Day. Okay, first Republic Day, and it is inspired from Ashokan pillar or lion capital of Ashokan pillar from Sarnath. Okay, now usage of this emblem. Now, how can you use this emblem? Okay, now Government of India has created rules and laws which gives guidelines as to how this emblem can be used. The usage of national emblem is governed by following law: State Emblem of India Prohibition of Improper Use Act 2005. It regulates authorized use of emblem. You cannot use this emblem improperly. Okay, for this there is this law. Along with this law, there are certain rules. State Emblem of India Rules 2007 specifies the permitted authorities and usage rules. And if you do not use this emblem as per the rules provided in these 2 documents, then you can even face penalties up to 2 years imprisonment or fine up to 5,000 for unauthorized use. Okay. Now, some of the features of this national emblem, they are written over here. They are also found in your notes. But national emblem looks like this. Okay, 4 Asiatic lions symbolizing power, courage, confidence, pride. Then there are 4 animals. Okay, bull, horse, lion, elephant. Okay, then there is this symbol wheel with 24 spokes. Okay, this is a Buddhist symbol of Dhammachakra Parivartana. Okay, and then at the bottom of it is written Satyameva Jayate. This is a slogan taken from Mundaka Upanishad. Remember this. It can be asked in your MCQs. Mundaka Upanishad has this line Satyamev Jayate. So this Satyamev Jayate is inspired from Upanishads, specifically Mundaka Upanishad. Alright? And now we'll jump to our last news item, which is Jevons Paradox. Okay? Now there was an economist called William Stanley Jevons. In 1865, he gave a theory. He said that when a particular new technology becomes efficient, okay, it is efficient, it is, I mean, you can produce this technology more efficiently. When efficiency increases in any new technology, its consumption also increases. People use more of it. Okay, now while giving this theory, William Stanley Jevons talked about coal. Okay, he said that look, coal is limited on earth. Okay, and because there is limit to the production of coal, what is happening is that coal, as you are using coal is becoming scarce. And when scarcity increases but demand for coal is high, but coal is becoming scarce, so when supply is less, demand is more, prices would rise, and prices would rise so much after some time that people would stop using coal and British economy would collapse, because British economy is dependent on coal based energy, right? This would happen. But Jevons said that no, because as we are using more and more coal, the technology to produce coal is becoming more efficient. It is becoming more cost effective and efficient to produce coal. Yes, coal is becoming scarce, but the technologies to that use that are used in mining of coal are becoming so cost effective and high that overall price of coal has declined because efficiency has increased. Okay, because earlier it took a lot. I mean, it was very costly to mine coal, but now it has become very cheap to mine coal. So because of that, consumption of coal has increased. People were saying that coal consumption would decline because of its scarcity and prices would go up, but prices have come down, and it would further come down, and people would consume more and more of coal. Why? Because the technology is becoming efficient. Okay, now this Jevons paradox was given with respect to coal, and that too in 1865. Okay, why is this being talked about now? The thing is that this is the age of AI. Okay, but all AI models run on chips, AI chips. These are called GPUs, graphics processing units. The more you have GPUs, the more or the better would be your AI models, and the more AI models you can generate. Now, GPUs are limited in the world. The production capacity is also limited. In fact, 90% of the GPUs in the world are produced by Nvidia, a company, right? So, GPUs are the new coal of 21st century in a way. Okay, but the thing is, people thought, like before William Stanley Jevons, people thought that coal would become expensive because coal is scarce. Okay, but Jevons pointed out that the efficiency of extracting coal would also improve, and that would reduce the cost. That has what has happened with GPUs. Because GPUs were scarce, they were very expensive. Nvidia used to charge a lot of money for them, and that is why all AI models were very expensive. But recently, this Chinese startup called DeepSeek AI has created an AI model that works on very less number of GPUs. Basically, this AI model has improved efficiency in the usage of GPUs. Now, GPUs that are required for running very high sophisticated AI models is very less. The cost of producing AI has become very less because of technological breakthrough by DeepSeek AI. And because technology has become more efficient, so AI models of the future would be cheaper now. Even though GPUs are expensive, but you don't need that many GPUs. And because of this cheapness, AI consumption or AI usage would skyrocket, like it happened with coal in 1865. This is what Jevons Paradox is, and Jevons Paradox is being applied at this. Okay? Reasons for Jevons Paradox to work. What reasons were given by Jevons, William Stanley Jevons, that this Jevons Paradox works? Well, he says that efficiency reduces cost. And when cost is down, prices are down, demand increases. So more consumption would happen. Efficiency would also increase the supply of these things. So these things would be accessible to each and every one of us. Okay, earlier they were only accessible to a chosen few. Very few countries had possession of coal. But now, because of this efficiency, any country can extract coal and accessibility has increased. Same is the case with GPUs and AI. Now, because of DeepSeek AI, it has become very cheap to make AI models, so every country would do that. So they are becoming more widespread, so consumption would increase. Plus, new technology products are highly demand elastic. A small decline in price increases demands very much because of high price elasticity. I hope you know the concept of elasticity. Okay. So these are the three reasons given by William Stanley Jevons that Jevons paradox works. Okay. Now, how would it impact AI? First, more adoption of AI models, more efficient technologies can lead to higher total energy consumption because these AI models run on GPUs. Okay. Now, these GPUs run on electricity. Now, if more and more people would be using AI because of declining costs of this technology, more energy, electricity would be consumed. So, more energy consumption would happen towards the field of AI. Therefore, governments must combine efficiency with regulatory measures, taxes, and all that to avoid overuse of AI. Government should step in because this breakthrough by DeepSeek AI will basically allow consumption of AI to skyrocket. So we cannot allow overuse of AI. So governments must step in. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you revise this lecture as well. So make sure you revise this lecture from our notes. And on that note, I would be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.